Hi. It's nice to see you all again. Thank you to everyone who commented and liked and watched and subscribed from the last video. That was incredibly kind. It's not a lot in terms of like big creators out there, but it's a lot for me. I'm not entirely sure how to process the amount of attention. Thinking about the numbers a little too much kind of makes me nervous, but I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that so many of you liked what I made enough to want to come back and want to take time out of your day to comment on something that I made. That's just so nice and really great, and it's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm rambling a little bit. I suppose it makes sense. The Hobonichi Avec, the cousin, is new in that like Hobonichi hasn't ever released the book separately like this before. So I think a lot of people are interested in the Hobonichi right now, which is honestly incredible. For those of you who don't know, this is by no means my first Hobonichi. I started using the Hobonichi back in 2013. I had one of the originals, just the original A5. That's the smaller size, right? Just the original A5 size. And I fell in love with it from the start. I'm gonna have to maybe link below the commercial that initially got me hooked onto it. It's so catchy and really fun. But yeah, thank you. I'm so happy that so many of you are interested and so many of you are here. It really has just made my entire week and has been very motivational for me to want to make more. I wanted to say thank you to everyone who commented on the last video and told me that the little flap was to be a bookmark. You can kind of see me play with it at the beginning. It doesn't work particularly well as a bookmark. I've been using it to hold my place in the month area rather than the daily area, and that's been going okay, but it kind of falls out a lot when I open up the book. But someone on Reddit was mentioning that other people have attached Velcro to the flap and to their books and have used it as a closure. And I think if I can muster up the courage to potentially destroy this cute little cover, that I might give that a shot. But thank you again to everybody who answered that. That meant a lot. Let me tell you a little bit about what I got up to in my book this week. I have been using the Uniball pens. They're the special edition Night Cafe colors, I think is what they are, but I really wanted to work a little bit more with my fountain pen. I have only ever had two fountain pens. I have a very nice one that I was gifted when I graduated from a very dear friend, and more recently I bought this one that is a Sailor limited edition. So fancy. It's a Sailor limited edition fountain pen, and I could not help myself when I saw it in the store. It's just too cute. Sailor did a collaboration with, I think it's Mizutama, and I've always liked their work. I think their art is so simple and sweet and cute, and when I saw that they had not only the fountain pen but also inks that matched, I couldn't resist it, and into my cart it went, and I checked it out and brought it home, and I actually did use it. When I pull the pen out initially, you can see there's a little bit of dregs of some of the brown ink in there still, and I try semi-successfully to get the last few drops out of it before I try to refill it with the blue ink. You can watch me struggle and fail on multiple occasions to refill the pen, and then proceed to get ink all over my hands because I could not be bothered to look at the, yes, you saw it right, instruction manual that is with the ink. But I mean, you live and you learn. I tried again. I figured it out. We got the blue ink in there in the end. It just took a couple of tries, and it took a few days for the ink to fully come off my hands. I recorded this footage on Sunday. It is now... When am I recording this? When did I record this? No. I believe I recorded I recorded this footage on Sunday, and today I only have just a little bit, today is Monday, I only have just a little bit of ink left on my thumb. Thankfully, I thought I was going to be ink stained for the rest of the week, but luckily that washed out eventually. But this is why I have a fountain pen cloth. This is actually not the one that I normally use. The one that I normally use was in the wash because I thought, oh, I'm going to be using my fountain pen. I should wash my fountain pen cloth, and then proceeded to forget that it was in the washing machine and that I have to hang it up. So I used another one that I didn't mind getting ink all over, and boy, am I glad I did, because I definitely did get ink all over, and I would have been significantly more upset if I had gotten ink on my little placemat rather than on the ink towel. That is now ink towel number 2. What I've got next to me is I've got just it's like a off-branded sketch pad. I think it's good for watercolors, so there's a little bit of feathering and stuff on it, but I mostly just wanted to test the ink color without having to waste any pages in my Hobonichi. I wanted to see if I had loaded the pen correctly, if there were any clogs, if I even remembered how to hold the fountain pen, because it's been a couple of weeks, and lo and behold, it does work, and it's not too clogged, and the color is actually quite lovely. Somehow, serendipitously, that ink matches almost perfectly with the Hobonichi pages, which I am honestly still a bit shocked about. Like I said, I've been using the Uniball, I think they're the Night Cafe pens. I really should have looked that up before I started recording the audio, but that's all right. And I love them, but I kept thinking, oh, you know, this ink is quite dark. You can't even really tell that it's blue. I'd really like to play a little bit more with color, especially since I haven't been coloring any of the sketches that I do in my book quite yet. So I'm really glad that I decided to try out this blue ink, because look at it. It matches almost perfectly, and it writes really nicely on the paper. I knew that already because I've used this pen in my Hobonichi notebook and in my Hobonichi weeks. I know that, I can't remember exactly what it is, but the Tomoe River paper has changed ever so slightly over the last year or two, and I can't remember if the week still uses the old paper or the new paper, and if the cousin uses the old paper or the new paper. But I guess it doesn't really matter either way, because there's no bleeding through the pages, there's very limited ghosting, about as much ghosting as writing with just about anything else on this paper is going to leave. So I ended up taking one of the blank pages in my beginning of July to test out the alphabet, try and get myself used to writing not only with this pen but on this paper, and to see how it goes. I do want to talk about having a blank page in the first place. I think a lot of people get very nervous, and I'm definitely one of these people that get very nervous about having a pre-dated diary or a pre-dated planner or a pre-dated bullet journal or anything like that, because they're worried about having blank space. And I actually had even talked about this in a previous video about how I had been using the weeks because it was less pressure and I only had to fill out a page every week rather than every day. I think that it's nice to have extra buffer pages like this for situations exactly like this, where, oh, I want to try out a new ink, or oh, I want to glue in a tag or a receipt or a business card or something into the pages so that I don't forget about it, but I don't necessarily want to have it on my journal entry for today. I do a quick flip through my book as well. I've got a poem that I wrote. I've got some little doodles and sketches from my days, mostly things from walking home, and my schedules listed over on the left side, on the left-hand side of that invisible line that Hobonichi likes to talk about so much on their websites and things. I also have an entire page dedicated to trying to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons. I got invited to a group to play back in January or December or so, and the person who runs the game was like, oh, like I'm looking for people who have never played before, or people who are comfortable playing with people who have never played before, and I have never played before and was a bit nervous. And honestly, my social anxiety comes out in very strange ways. I get embarrassed in front of people I know rather than people that I don't know. I have a lot of like cringe moments that I look back on, but they're all with people that I know. If it's people that I don't know and I'm never going to see again, then I tend to not get very nervous. But with people I know and I care about, I get very nervous whenever it comes to like play acting or trying to show something I'm interested in or to show something that I've put care into creating. And so for some reason, in my weird anxiety-riddled brain, I thought, yes, why not? Let's meet up with a bunch of strangers to play a board game. And it's been kind of incredible, except that I have no idea what I'm doing still. And I needed to make myself a cheat sheet. I've got a rogue. They are a gnome. They are an especially short gnome, which is saying something. They are 2 feet tall. Their name is Moss. And they are a pretty typical rogue. I think they're pretty textbook. I looked up as many resources as I could before I decided on this class and this character. And what I didn't realize is that the battle mechanics for rogues are quite complex. I was under the impression it's like, oh yeah, no, like my encounters are going to be mostly like sneaking up on things and maybe stabbing once in a while and then quickly running away. But that hasn't quite been the case so far in the encounters. And we leveled up, very exciting. So now I've got this level 2 rogue that I still don't really understand, and we're starting to have more plot-driven battles and things, and I'm realizing, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing, because here's the kicker. When we started to play this game, the premise that I was under was like, oh, it's for all of these people who have never played before, and guess who is the only new player? It's me. I've been feeling the pressure the last couple of weeks to try and learn more and to try and understand a bit more. Basically, what I discovered was that, so level 2 rogues, I guess they have an ability called a sneak attack, and my brain, because of course I didn't look at the rulebook, please see fountain pen back at the 2-minute mark or so, I did not look very closely at the rulebook, and so my brain went, oh, sneak attack, so this only works when you are sneaking around. And that's not true, apparently. You either have to have advantage on the roll in order to deal extra damage, which is this sneak attack, or something else that is attacking your target has to be within 5 feet of that target. And I did not realize this, so this whole time I have been rolling only 1 dice worth of damage like a fool. But now I understand how it works, so I think this next time it will go a little bit more smoothly, and I'll probably feel a little bit more successful and less like I am, I don't know, I don't want to say that I'm dragging my team down, but I think that it's just very clear that I'm the most inexperienced one, and I want to be able to actually play and not have to sit there struggling, if that makes sense. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I want to understand the rules so that I can play better, and if that means that now an entire page of my book is dedicated to Dungeons and Dragons, then an entire page of my book is dedicated to Dungeons and Dragons. I actually probably will be doing another page about maybe not combat, but about like some of the other abilities or the items that I've collected, or maybe doing a synopsis so that I can try and make a timeline of like the image on the wall the meme that goes around of like the cork board and there's like strings attaching everything. Maybe I need to make my book my whodunit wall so that I can understand and parse together this plot a little bit more and be a little bit more of an active member rather than a confused member of my party. I will say, I think that the fountain pen, I've really enjoyed writing with it. I think a lot of it is just still me getting used to it. I don't think I completely understand how fountain pens work yet, but I do think that I need more practice because I continually manage to scrape over or touch the ink before it has completely dried, or I press too hard and suddenly there's like a very tiny pool of blue on my page. And I guess that's okay. I guess that can just show when I look back on this, like, oh, look, this was when I was still learning how to use a fountain pen. Look at my little ink blots. Oh, that's great that I had worked so hard and tried. So I go in and I update my to-dos for the week. I make sure that they are on the weekly, the monthly, and the daily pages just for the upcoming week. You might notice, again, maybe the audio doesn't match up with the visual of what is going on the screen, but I do a little point and a little wiggle on Friday the 12th, and that is because I was just so excited that I had 215 subscribers and 1.5 thousand views on my last video. That's so incredible to me. Can you tell that I'm excited about this? Can you tell that I am happy to have people to rant to about my weird little notebook with my weird little drawings and my weird little pens and things? It just makes me very happy. So thank you very much. I did want to talk about some of the maybe unconventional ways that I journal. I think a lot of people keep journals and diaries as a way to talk about their day and to record events. I do that as well, but I often use my book closer to what I think a lot of people would call a commonplace book. I find that one of the ways that I process emotions and challenges and things that are difficult for me is by taking notes, like what I did for the Dungeons and Dragons page, drawing sketches of things that I see that I think are beautiful, even if I'm not as good as the thing that looks in person. Like the drawing is not as good as the actual item. It doesn't matter to me. The act of drawing it out is meditative to me. And one of the things that I picked up probably in 2017, 2018 or so, I had a couple of friends that were really into tarot, and I had never really thought about them before, but I do think that things that can be used as tools for reflection can be helpful in just about any form. And that's basically what I started using tarot as. I got this deck. This deck is from Labyrinthos, and I picked this up again, I think back in 2017, 2018. I love this deck. I have never felt inclined to buy another deck. This is it. This is my ride or die. I will probably never have another deck unless something happens to this one. And I just think that the simplicity of it is so pretty, and the black and the gold play off of each other so well that even if I didn't use this as a tool for meditation and reflection, I think I would still like it just for the pure artistic value of it. That and it has a good box. I love a good box. I use it mostly as a processing tool. And if something is pretty and useful, I want it. So what I do is generally, if I'm in the habit, I had a good run for a while where I was doing a card a day, and I kept a little notebook that had each of the cards, what the actual prescribed meaning of that card is, and how I thought that that could relate to my current situation. In this case, because I had 2 pages to fill, I decided to do a simple past, present, future card draw. So I shuffled the cards a little bit, and I ended up pulling the Queen of Pentacles reversed for past, the Death reversed for present, and the Four of Swords reversed for future. I think some people use tarot cards as a way for divination. I don't necessarily think that any of these things are for sure going to happen. I think that emotions are what give things power. And so for me, in my own little space, self-reflection is the power. So even if the card was completely not related to what I was saying or doing at that time in my life, I still try to find a way to reflect on it and to push myself to grow, or to try to understand the things that have happened, are happening, or the things that I want. Queen of Pentacles reversed. The keywords would be things like selfish, jealous, insecure, greedy, materialistic, envious. I don't necessarily relate to any of those things. I don't think I'm a particularly envious person. I also don't think I'm a particularly jealous person. But something that did, I think, apply to me was the Queen of Pentacles reversed can imply the loss of ability to take care of self and your surroundings. A lack of a sense of duty and capability. This is the power that I am assigning to this card in this particular instance. I think that that is very true for the things that I have been going through. I think that by looking at this and by thinking about it, I want to think about how can I ground myself down? Again, how can I re-enter into my own self and my surroundings? How can I regain a sense of control and a sense of space? Death reversed would be fear of change, repeated negative patterns, resisting change, stagnancy, decay, worry about letting go of the past, and unsure about steps to take for the future. I do think that I am at a crossroads in my life right now, and I think it is important for me to remember that I can be afraid while also trusting in myself to make the right decisions. Fear does not have to be the same as standing still. At least not for me. For the future, the Four of Swords reversed. Some of the keywords didn't quite match up with like the, I guess what they would call the advice for the cards, but I found them relevant, at least some of them. And it would be things like recovering, awakening, re-entering the world, release from isolation, but also restlessness and burnout. I think that reminding myself that resting and retreating can be an act of love for myself. I also think that I am at a point where I am ready to try and go out more, be a little bit more social, try to go and see things that I wouldn't normally do, but slowly. I think that I can make progress slowly. Anyway, thank you for hanging out with me today. Hopefully you liked this. Hopefully you had a good time. If crunchy, semi-spooky things are not for you, that is okay. I know that tarot and Dungeons and Dragons and these types of activities are not for everyone, and that's okay. But I thought that I would share them with you because they mean something to me. And I think that the way that I go about things might be a little different than what you would normally associate with journals or tarot. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.